Hello, it's Larissa Coe. Today we're going to look at character analysis. So when we're analyzing a character, we're looking closely at who that character is, their motivations, thoughts, etc., etc. And the way we're going to do that is by looking at several character analysis terms. So why should we analyze a character? First of all, it helps you understand the story. It helps you relate to the story as well, and it's just an interesting thing to do. So the first term we're going to look at is protagonist. The protagonist is the main character of a story who we root for. It's the good guy. A good protagonist is a sympathetic character, meaning it's a character that we like. An antagonist, on the other hand, is the major character that opposes the protagonist, or the bad guy. Usually we do not like the antagonist. An interesting example of kind of turning this on its head is Frozen. At the beginning of the movie, it seems like Elsa is turning into our antagonist, but as you know, the actual antagonist ends up being Hans. And kind of playing with our expectations is one of the things that makes this a good movie. It makes it a lot more interesting when we think that we know who the antagonist is, but it's actually someone else. Next up is the foil. So this term comes from when you put foil underneath a diamond, which helps to reflect the light and make the diamond look even more sparkly and beautiful. In a story, a foil is a character with a lot of similarities to another character, but that also contrasts with the character. And that contrast, in spite of all of the similarities, is what highlights the opposite characteristics. A good example of this is Buzz and Woody in Toy Story. So Buzz is one of Andy's favorite toys. He's liked and respected by the other toys too. That's the same for Woody. Both of them are the favorites. They're well liked, they're respected, they're listened to. But Buzz is confident, brave, adventurous, and a bit delusional, whereas Woody is jealous and afraid, but well-grounded. So these contrasting characters in a similar situation highlight the differences between the two. Next up is static and dynamic. So static means staying put, and a static character does not change much from the start to the end. Captain America is always brave and loyal and honest and all of those good things, and he's really consistently those traits throughout. Static characters can be really likable, and a lot of times they are, because they're likable enough at the beginning that you don't want them to change. You want them to stay the same. Like in Harry Potter, you wouldn't want Hagrid to turn evil. It's really nice having a stable, kind, big-hearted character throughout. A dynamic character, on the other hand, changes from the start of the story to the end. The Grinch's heart grew 3 sizes bigger, and he was a totally different character at the end. The change is not always that dramatic, but a dynamic character, as the name implies, always changes. Next up are round and flat characters. A round character is very well developed in the story. We know a lot about their actions, thoughts, and different personality traits, whereas flat characters, we don't know as many details about them. There are 1 or 2 major characteristics that they represent, but we don't often know their backstory, their thoughts, or that many details about them. A good example of this is Shrek versus Donkey. We know a lot about Shrek. The story revolves around him. We know the internal battles that are going on. We can see him changing throughout the story. He's pretty complex. Whereas Donkey is basically a lovable, annoying sidekick the whole time. So putting these together, we'll look at Katniss Everdeen. Katniss is the protagonist. She's the main character. She's sympathetic. We're supposed to like her, and most people do. She's not the antagonist. Obviously, you can't be both. Gale is Katniss's foil. He is in a similar situation. Both of them live in the same place. They have the same struggles. They're both trying to feed their little siblings and just get along in the world. But they have a very different attitude towards the capital. Katniss really just wants to save her sister. She's more focused on that than anything. She's not asking for much beyond that. Whereas Gale is ready to fight and he wants to make huge changes and kind of fix the problems in the world. So Gale, next to Katniss, makes her motivation stand out, and same vice versa. Katniss is a dynamic character, so she does start to care about the bigger picture later on in the story. She's always brave and loyal to her sister, but she starts to care more about others, and in some cases to open up, even though she's in general a very shut-off character. Katniss is a round character. She's more complex than just she's a fighter who's going to protect her sister. That's kind of the basic, but we also get to know about her fears, her feelings, her thoughts. So she's more of a round, complex, interesting character as opposed to a flat one who is more one-sided. Okay, and the last thing I wanted to mention is external and internal reality. So external reality is what characters say, do, and look like, and what is going on. So when we are watching movies, we usually rely on external reality to figure things out about characters. We can see what they do, we can hear what they say, we look at their facial expressions and kind of guess what's going on inside. Internal reality, though, is the thoughts and feelings of a character. While we can guess what those things are in movies, unless there's like a narrator explaining how these characters feel or saying what they thought, we don't really get internal reality in movies as much as we can through books. For example, in Harry Potter, we get to know Harry Potter's thoughts, which is a huge advantage to understanding Harry Potter. One of Harry's traits is that he's not great at communication. So when in the movie we rely on what he says to figure out who he is, it's a lot harder to get to know him and honestly like him and care about him. So I'm guessing if you've read the Harry Potter books, you might have a higher opinion of Harry Potter himself than if you only watched the movies. And just a recap, a character can be a protagonist, main character, an antagonist, the enemy or the bad guy, a foil, a character with a lot of similarities but a major difference to usually the protagonist, which highlights that difference. Static, meaning they don't change from beginning to end. Dynamic, meaning they do change from beginning to end. Round, meaning complex. Or flat, meaning one-sided and less complex. And we can judge them from their external reality, which are the things that happen to them, the things they say and do, the things that we could see on a movie, versus their internal reality, which is how they feel and what they think, which we usually get really clearly through books. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you learned a thing or two, or at least reviewed. All right, have a good one, and until next lesson, see you later.